Good evening, I'm Adrienne Arsenault.
And I'm Andrew Chang. After more than 9,000 deaths, millions unemployed, and months of uncertainty, tonight, a government plan delivered in 2 speeches.
Together, we have the power to get this second wave under control.
So what is coming for your parents, your kids, your jobs, and your businesses? We'll talk with Chrystia Freeland, plus Rosie and At Issue are here.
It's very simple, the sorts of things we need to do, and I wish we'd heard them in August.
Canada on a COVID threshold. Are lawmakers and public health officials on the same page?
And sadness and anger in Louisville, Kentucky. A grand jury indicts a police officer, but not for the death of Breonna Taylor. This is The National.
Over the past 7 months, Canadians have suffered incredible loss and adapted to so much change. Working, getting groceries, educating our kids, it's all different.
And now a new warning that what is coming could be even worse, that a second wave of COVID-19 is here.
And so tonight, a rare national address from the Prime Minister appealing directly to you.
We're at a crossroads. There are many days to go before we get to the other side of this. But there are also many of us to get us there, so long as we each remember to do our part.
He spoke just after the Governor General delivered the speech from the throne, laying out the federal government's new plan to contain the virus, the economic fallout it created, and the social problems it has exposed.
David Cochran takes us through the 2 speeches of the day, promises in one, a plea in the other.
With a backdrop of tradition and ceremony, a stark reminder of the moment. A health and economic crisis with no end in sight.
Over 9,000 Canadians have died in 6 months.
So a far-reaching set of promises to address the failures in long-term care, to create national pharmacare while securing a vaccine supply, to boost COVID testing capacity and speed.
Canadians should not be waiting in line for hours to get a test.
On the economy, promises to support businesses shut down by outbreaks, to help specific sectors like airlines and tourism wounded by the pandemic, and to boost employment.
The government will launch a campaign to create over 1 million jobs.
1 million jobs through infrastructure projects and retraining, an extension of the wage subsidy until next summer.
This is not the time for austerity.
Far from it. The government has spent big and is promising to spend more, building and retrofitting affordable houses, modernizing employment insurance to cover gig workers and the self-employed, and a big promise on childcare.
Long-term, sustained investment to create a Canada-wide early learning and childcare system.
The list of what the government wants to do, backstopped by a call for what Canadians need to do.
The second wave isn't just starting. It's already underway.
That second wave prompted a second speech. In a live address from his office, the Prime Minister spelled out what lies ahead.
The numbers are clear. Back on March 13th, when we went into lockdown, there were 47 new cases of COVID-19. Yesterday alone, we had well over 1,000. We're on the brink of a fall that could be much worse than the spring.
So as cases spike and testing lines swell, a familiar plea. Wash your hands, wear a mask, download the COVID app. Help slow the spread.
It's all too likely we won't be gathering for Thanksgiving, but we still have a shot at Christmas.
To get there, Trudeau promises to keep spending to keep Canadians safe and economically secure, arguing that spending less would cost the country even more in the long run. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Liberals have a minority government, which means they will need support from another party to survive the confidence vote in the House of Commons. Salima Shivji with how the opposition parties are reacting.
This is an ambitious plan for an unprecedented reality.
The speech was long, the rejection swift.
Conservatives cannot support it.
It fell to the official opposition's deputy leader to respond first, with leader Erin O'Toole stuck at home infected with the virus. The Conservatives found the speech lacking.
There was no real words of unity. There was no words that said to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, forestry workers in BC, we value you.
Criticism echoed by O'Toole in a taped message from isolation.
Mr. Trudeau says we're all in this together, but Canada has never been more divided.
Friends of Quebec across Canadian provinces.
The Bloc Québécois' Yves-François Blanchette also has COVID-19 and is also displeased with the Liberals' stated path forward.
Le Bloc Québécois votera contre.
Refusing to support a speech that he says treads on provincial territory, healthcare, without billions of dollars in health transfers to the provinces. He's giving the Prime Minister a week to change his mind. Unlikely. But remember, the minority Liberals only need one party's support to stay alive.
We are going to look at the throne speech and make our decision, but we are more interested in actions than in words.
And the NDP wants two things: paid sick leave for Canadians who can't work because of the virus, which the Liberals have already promised, and
in a couple of days, CERB is going to end, and those Canadians don't know where they're going to get help, and the Liberals' plan is to cut the help that they receive. That's wrong.
Demands and fixes that could come soon in legislation, leaving room for this Liberal government to maneuver and live another day. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, as you heard from David a moment ago, the government plans to offer help for specific groups hit hard by the pandemic, like working mothers, seniors in long-term care, and small business owners. Briar Stewart looks at that part of the story.
At this oyster bar in downtown Vancouver, business is down about 50% these days. The restaurant has been able to keep about 30 employees on the payroll, in part because of the wage subsidy.
This autumn and winter is going to be very challenging, and we don't know what to expect.
Without the financial help, the general manager says the impact would be severe.
Probably closing down the restaurant at some point. I mean, if you're losing money every month at the end, it's just like you can't be sustainable and stay open.
Which is why he was relieved to see the aid will be extended until next summer. Businesses have been profoundly affected by the pandemic, but what the government calls the greatest tragedy is the thousands of deaths in long-term care homes. In the throne speech, the government said it would amend the criminal code so there are penalties for those who neglect seniors and put them in danger.
I think it's about time.
Jacqueline Mitchell's 94-year-old mother, Lena, is a resident of the Eatonville Care Centre in Toronto. Dozens of residents there have died of COVID-19. That's why she also wants the government to act on its new promise to create national standards in long-term care homes.
We need to do this. I don't care who's in power. It's not a political issue. It's a quality of life issue. It is a safety issue.
Come on, sit down and have a snack.
Another commitment put forward today, a large investment in childcare, but Elisa Hutton is skeptical. She's heard plenty of announcements before, but says she never ends up getting much help. She's a single parent. Her son Noah has autism.
I feel like I have to choose either family or career, financial stability or being able to care for my child. I don't see where there's a lot of supports going in there to lessen that burden.
One that feels much heavier during the middle of a pandemic. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
While both of today's speeches focused on recovering from the pandemic, they also touched on systemic racism in Canada. Magda Gebrselassie now on the promises and the reaction.
After months of demonstrations and conversations, Nigel Barriffe had a close eye on the throne speech, looking for signs of action, not just words.
This is a moment of racial reckoning.
For too many Canadians, systemic racism is a lived reality.
Today's throne speech promised action on online hate, employment opportunities, and criminal justice reform. And tonight,
as a country, we must keep making progress on reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and on fighting systemic racism.
But for Barriffe, it all missed the mark.
We needed to hear a concerted effort to address the disproportionate violence by police against Black people in this country. We also needed to address the health disparity.
Anna K. Brown agrees. COVID hit her community hard.
Many systematic barriers that racialized people were facing. COVID has just brought all of those things to highlight.
Reading about the speech, she didn't see the clear action she wanted.
Most of these community people here are essential workers, and if they can't get sick days and if they don't have benefits, they're forced to go to work.
But Barif was glad of one thing, a push for better race-based data.
We need to know the hard facts on who the COVID is disproportionately affecting. We need to know it in housing. We need to know it in the criminal justice system. We need to know it in daycare and education.
So for him, among all the words, the promise of some action. He says it's a good step, but it's not enough. Makta Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton is standing by with more special throne speech coverage. Not only will Rosie be speaking with the finance minister, she will also have a special edition of At Issue. All that still to come.
Now, this week we heard that Canada is at a COVID-19 crossroads. The fear is we've already taken the wrong turn and that the window for turning back is closing by the day. The dashboard is flashing warning lights. The number of people now getting tested every day, far more than even at the start of the month. More tests, a good thing, but also rising the percentage of tests coming back positive. That comes to 1,090 new cases today alone, spread across Western and Central Canada. The worst numbers coming out of Ontario and Quebec, seeing daily case rates more than triple since the start of the month. Now, officials know all of this and more. So after 6 months, after nearly 1 million deaths and tens of millions of cases worldwide, there should be no illusions about what this virus can do. So Christine Birak asks the question, what are we doing about it?
Our bubbles are getting bigger. Canada's once flat curve is gone. Doctors don't want to say it publicly, but some are saying it privately. We've failed. And others are feeling it too.
I'm all for shutting it down. Shut it all down if that's what needs to happen.
Some provinces are talking about the possibility of targeted lockdowns.
That is in the hands of public health officials, and most importantly, it's in the hands of British Columbians.
We'll be relying on the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and we'll make that decision if we see this escalate any further.
And yet, the message from public health officials is largely
the same advice that we've been giving. I think people are aware that, certainly COVID-19 is still here. The numbers are going up.
Alberta's chief medical officer just announced indoor play gyms will reopen, saying they're open in other provinces and will take additional steps as necessary.
No question, there's things we should be doing, should have done already. We need to close restaurants for in-house dining. It's very simple, the sorts of things we need to do, and I wish we'd heard them in August.
Unlike the first wave, 70,000 people are now being tested daily. Contact tracers are working, but still not finding the source of a third of all infections. But schools, restaurants, bars, and offices are all now open.
If we are going to control this, and we are going to prevent overwhelming our health system capacity, we are going to have to enforce some of the similar rollbacks that we enforced the first time around, or else we will get into real trouble.
As it stands, leaders say they're taking their cues from public health officials. Those officials are advising Canadians to limit their contacts. But doctors insist we're doing too little, and we'll only see the consequences when it's too late. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
It is really hard to imagine controlling COVID-19 without controlling those growing lineups at testing centres in parts of the country. Ontario has announced an ambitious plan to do just that, but Katie Nicholson tells us it's already hitting snags.
Bumper to bumper, well before the clinic opened, Carmen Johnson walked there only to be turned away.
There's big signs everywhere saying clinic full, at capacity, it's already closed. So we're taking a little breather before we make the walk back.
Clearly someone's not doing their job because it's COVID. People should be able to get tested regardless.
This frustration, exactly the sort of thing Doug Ford hopes to end.
We will be expanding testing to pharmacies. Starting Friday, up to 60 pharmacies in Ontario will offer COVID-19 testing.
Problem is, when we called some of the pharmacies on this list, they said they won't be ready.
Okay, so you can't do any tests. You're okay.
Bit of a bumpy start, but Alberta proves it can work. Pharmacies have been doing thousands of tests there daily. To minimize the risk to staff and other shoppers, Ontario says only asymptomatic patients can schedule an appointment at a pharmacy, but they will rely on self-reporting.
All it takes is a few individuals that really fudge or minimize or don't necessarily follow the honor system for their symptoms.
It's no secret the province's network of labs is overburdened, and just this evening, its information system crashed. More tests from pharmacies may add to the lab's problems.
This just kind of shuffles the cards a little bit, but you're still playing with the same deck.
But the Ontario Pharmacy Association says pharmacy tests will be processed somewhere else.
So the information we've received to date about the logistics is that pharmacy samples would go to a centralized location, which is separate from the existing COVID testing centers.
Ford also announced 3 hospitals will start saliva testing for COVID, something he's pushing the federal government to approve for widespread use. But so far, Health Canada hasn't budged. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
A third death has been linked to outbreaks at Foothills Medical Centre in Calgary. An 82-year-old man died in a cardiac unit this morning after being diagnosed with the virus on the weekend. The hospital is dealing with 2 separate outbreaks, the largest in the province. A total of 17 patients and 9 staff tested positive. More than 100 employees are now in isolation.
Post-tropical storm Teddy made landfall in Nova Scotia this morning. The storm brought strong winds and heavy rain, leaving thousands without power at points today. Many schools were closed and public transit suspended in some areas. Overall, though, it could have been far worse. Teddy did minimal damage across the Maritimes, especially compared to previous storms. Well, there are reports that 2 police officers have been shot during protests in Louisville, Kentucky tonight. And we're still trying to learn more about the extent of the injuries, but those protests are in the name of Breonna Taylor. Now, like George Floyd, she has become a symbol this year in the fight against anti-Black racism after she was killed in a March police raid. Today, one of the officers involved was charged, but not for her death. Stephen D'Souza explains.
Police cracked down on protesters in Louisville today, just hours after it was announced only one officer would be charged, but not for the actions that directly led to the death of Breonna Taylor.
The criminal law is not meant to respond to every sorrow and grief, and that is true here.
Kentucky's Attorney General announced Detective Brett Hankison was being charged with wanton endangerment. He fired 10 shots that night, none of which hit Taylor. In March, just after midnight, police were serving a drug warrant at Taylor's apartment. They broke down the door. Taylor's boyfriend said he thought they were intruders and opened fire. Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly and Detective Miles Cosgrove fired back. Taylor was struck 6 times and died. The state attorney general says the officer's use of force in response was justified.
Justice is not often easy. It does not fit the mold of public opinion, and it does not conform to shifting standards.
One major question: did police properly identify themselves? Cameron said they did, confirmed by one witness, even though multiple other witnesses have said otherwise. Reaction to the decision was swift and raw.
It feels like today, and I think it's a fact, that Black lives do not matter. All the cops should have been arrested. How can you burst into someone's home, fire at them, kill them, and not be charged with anything less than murder?
Experts say this shows why police reform must include the grand jury process.
It's a deeply politicized process, and it's one where there's not just a finger, there's a foot on the side of the scale of police officers.
The FBI is still investigating, and protesters say the fight for justice is far from over, and Breonna Taylor's name will continue to be a rallying cry across the country. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
A final visit tonight to the U.S. Supreme Court for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ahead on the National, hundreds gather to honor a pioneer's life and legacy.
She was a fighter for all women.
And as the U.S. crosses a staggering new pandemic threshold, warnings and frustration from America's top doctors.
It's offensive to me.
But next, Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton.
Not only is At Issue standing by, but the Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister is here to answer some questions about the government plan. See you back here in 2.
This is an ambitious plan for an unprecedented reality.
In a speech from the throne, the Liberals lay out their plan forward in this pandemic. It includes pledges to extend the wage subsidy, create up to 1 million jobs. The speech will face a confidence vote, and already the Conservatives have said that they will not support it. Joining me now, though, the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland. Nice to see you, Minister. Let me start with a couple of things that the Prime Minister said. Nice to see you. The Prime Minister today said that every Canadian who wants a test should be able to get a test, and quickly. That is certainly not happening now in many places across the country. People are obviously frustrated by that. What can the federal government do to fix that problem, Minister?
Well, as you know, Rosie, healthcare is a provincial responsibility, but I have a lot of sympathy for the provinces. This is really, really hard. We are fighting a global pandemic, and the second wave has come up upon us very, very fast. One of the reasons that it was so important to us to negotiate the Safe Restart Agreement in the summer was precisely to give the provinces the resources to get ready. $19 billion and $13 billion of that money was specifically for healthcare, including testing and tracing, PPE, and directly the healthcare system. So we are here to support the provinces. And the Prime Minister mentioned one other thing, which is the throne speech mentioned one other thing, which is we are going to create a special federal surge capacity to be able to come in and to help in parts of the country that need some extra support on testing and tracing.
Okay, the Prime Minister also said today that the federal government will, quote, have Canadians' backs, whatever it takes. So what does that mean? If things get bad again, if we don't take the message that we've heard both from him and Dr. Tam in the past couple of days, could you bring back CERB? Could you bring back the rent assistance program? Are there measures that are ending that might have to be brought back if we get into a bad second wave?
So first thing is, Rosie, let's not let that happen. Each one of us has a huge role to play. Dr. Tam was very clear yesterday that our destiny is in our own hands, and we can really stop this. We can flatten the curve again just by limiting our social interactions and by wearing our masks and social distancing. So please, let's all do that. The Prime Minister did say that the federal government will do whatever it takes to support Canadians, and the throne speech gave some specifics. We are extending the wage subsidy until the summer. We have already talked about how the CERB is going to be transformed into a more robust set of programs, some of them moving on to a more flexible EI, and then some new programs that are going to support people who don't qualify for EI and who need support now. You mentioned rent assistance, and the throne speech did talk about how we are going to extend support for small business.
So is the answer that the measures that were in place for an emergency are not going to happen again, that you've transformed them into something else? Is that what you're saying?
No, quite the contrary. What I said, or what I meant, what I was trying to say, Rosie, is we know that Canadians still need support. The support they needed in the spring, they need now, and it is highly possible that we're going to need a little more support in the coming months. Kids are going back to school. Winter is coming. And so that's why some, the support programs that I just referred to are going to continue.
Minister, I only have about 30 seconds, so you'll deal with that if you can. It's a hard question. But
sorry.
The Prime Minister said, he said many Canadians are wondering how we can afford everything that you laid out today, not just the response to the pandemic, but big programs. At what point can we no longer afford some of these programs that you've promised?
Rosie, I think the way to answer that question is to say, these are things we just can't afford not to do. The cost of failing to act is much, much greater today than the cost of acting. As it happens, we have the fiscal firepower to do it. We had a very strong fiscal position going into this crisis, and interest rates are really, really low. But the lowest actually in 100 years, the price the government is paying for our debt. So those are great foundations, but at the end of the day, we have to do this. The economic crisis and the healthcare crisis
surely,
would be
surely,
far
Minister,
worse were the government to not
surely,
be
Minister,
acting.
Surely, Minister, there's a stop point. Surely at some point you have to say enough is enough.
Do you know when COVID is going to end, Rosie?
No, but I don't know when spending is going to end either, Minister.
Well, I don't know when COVID is going to end either. What I do know is as long as we are fighting this global pandemic, we can't just down tools. We're going to have to be there, and we're going to have to keep on fighting, and fighting is going to cost money.
Okay, Minister, we didn't have enough time, but I appreciate you making the time today. Finance Minister and Deputy Prime
next
Minister.
time, Rosie.
Indeed, Chrystia Freeland, thank you for that. We're going to take a short break here, but I'll be back with more political coverage, and who better to break down an incredibly busy day in Ottawa than these guys, Andrew, Chantal, and Althea. They're up next here on The National. These unprecedented times made for an unusual speech from the throne. The pandemic changed the look of today's ceremony and its message.
This is our generation's crossroads. This is the opportunity to contain the global crisis and build back better together.
But tonight, another rare moment, an address to the nation and a direct appeal to Canadians from the Prime Minister.
Canadians, the second wave isn't just starting, it's already underway. It's all too likely we won't be gathering for Thanksgiving, but we still have a shot at Christmas.
So was today's messaging enough for this minority government to win the confidence of the House and of Canadians? Let's bring in at issue for a special Wednesday panel, Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Let's start with the throne speech. We talked about last week how the government had been tempering expectations a little bit. What did you make of the plan put forward today, Andrew? Did it make sense in terms of its response to the pandemic and as explanation for why Parliament was prorogued in the first place?
Well, to give them their credit, I suppose they've gone back, I think, ultimately to where they were talking about 4 weeks ago. That is to say, this very ambitious plan that they had of bringing in all kinds of policies that they've always wanted to implement anyway and stuff them into a sack called pandemic. They've taken note of some of the response that they've had from that, and so they've wrapped it in this profession of concern for dealing with the pandemic. And to ward off charges that maybe they've got different priorities than the public's. And they've also inserted some language about, oh, of course, we'll be fiscally responsible to sort of chill some of the concerns that they had, really don't care about the deficit. But at its core, it's pretty much the same ideology they were talking about 4 weeks ago. And if I didn't think that before your interview with Chrystia Freeland, I certainly think it now. She really didn't seem to think this was really much of an issue.
Well, they certainly don't seem to be too worried about the spending. We know that the deficit's $340 billion and tilting quickly towards $400 billion, Chantal. And maybe that isn't something people should be worried about. Maybe it's not something Canadians are worried about. But when you see all the programs that they plan to create, that's going to cost money too.
Yes, well, plan to create is really the buzzword here rather than shovel in the ground and boots on the ground. So first, I think the real test on fiscal prudence or restraint is going to come when there is a fiscal update. Yeah. Today was not the day to speak about austerity. Second, I'm not so sure that most Canadians at this point would take seriously or would find that the government that talked to them about austerity, as they are still in a crisis, yes, would have felt that the government was really connecting with their reality. So it is what it is. I don't see this as a plan for the next 10 years. I suspect the government, bottom line, would probably like to go in an election, not this fall, but at some point before it does have to make hard decisions to restore some fiscal balance to the public finances.
What do you think, Althea? Did the throne speech deliver on trying to reset the government and respond to some of the issues that are out there now and that have emerged through the pandemic?
Well, time will tell if it really fulfilled the mission of doing the reset. Because, of course, back in August, we were talking about We Charity and the Liberals' quote-unquote scandals. The husband of the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, who was cleared, actually, today amidst all the other news. So if parliamentarians start talking about the speech from the throne and the Liberal government's agenda rather than ethics and scandals, then I guess, mission accomplished. This throne speech, I would disagree with Andrew. I don't think it's as ambitious as the Prime Minister was telegraphing back in August when he pulled the plug on Parliament. Back then, and even in the spring, we were talking about things like help for vulnerable workers. There was some vague language around that in this speech from the throne, but nothing concrete. It is mostly filled with items that the Liberals have long promised and long said that they wanted to do, including a lot of the stuff that was in the speech from the throne last year, like pharmacare, that is in this speech from the throne. And time will tell whether they're actually going to implement them, because I agree with Chantal. A lot of these things we're going to talk to the provinces about doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And even if the NDP gives them a 3-year mandate or 3 years left to their mandate, they would not be able to accomplish everything they set out to do in this throne speech.
No. Chantal, you want in there, and then I'll go to Andrew. Yep.
Yeah, 2 points. Take childcare. Well, we've had federal governments talk about investing in childcare and creating a national system along the lines of the Quebec system. That actually is a public policy that is of interest and probably valuable to many people, but it is not something you're going to put in place between now and the end of this year, or even a year from now. Take pharmacare. The language hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Yes, they're doubling down on pharmacare, or on their contention that they will go forward with the provinces that want to go forward with them. That excludes Quebec, Ontario, I suspect BC and Alberta. So we're, yes, some way from that national pharmacare program. BC and Quebec, because they have programs.
Yes, yes.
And Ontario and Alberta have made it clear they're not buying in. So it's like saying I'm going to go to the school dance and I'm going to dance with whoever wants to dance with me, except that no one is actually really interested in that dance.
Last point to you, Andrew, and then I want to switch to the opposition response.
There's a lot of language in there about working with the provinces, more than perhaps even usual for these speeches. It puts the provinces in the unusual position, I suppose, of being the guardians of fiscal probity, that if anything's going to prevent this government from really blowing the bank open, it's going to be that they won't be able to get the provinces to go along with them.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the opposition response, because this all will result in a confidence vote. Let me play you a little bit of what Aaron O'Toole and Jagmeet Singh had to say after tonight's primetime address by the Prime Minister.
Mr. Trudeau says we're all in this together, but Canada has never been more divided. We must show our fellow Canadians that we value them and respect their contributions to our country.
We need to do better to take care of each other, a better social security, social safety net. And it's not good enough to just say the words. We need to actually see the actions.
The Conservatives have said they're not going to vote for this. It doesn't sound like the Bloc is either, given what their demands are. So that leaves Jagmeet Singh. But give me your sense of the response to the political message today from the Prime Minister. Althea, I'll start with you.
Not very surprising. The Bloc leader has actually said that he doesn't think he's going to vote for it, but he's going to give the Prime Minister like a week to change his mind. The NGP came out and said that the two things that they had said and spoken to the Prime Minister about last week, Jagmeet Singh, during his phone call with the Prime Minister, that they want to make sure that Canadians who are receiving CERB are still taken care of before this new employment insurance program kicks in, and they want sick leave. Now, these are actually two things that the Liberals have communicated that they plan to do, but for some reason, it wasn't in the throne speech. Like, to me, actually, I would have thought that they would have wanted to say, we're doing sick leave and we're actually talking to the provinces about it. We've even included it in our Safe Restart program because Canadians, I think, are worried about, like, if my shift at McDonald's, I can't go because my kid's sick, like, can I have some sick leave? But so really the only option the NDP say is if it's going to be tabled as legislation, then they will vote for it and they will say that is a signal. But everybody, of course, thinks that the NDP now has a very weak hand, and of course it's going to vote in favor of the speech from the throne. And there is no reason why they wouldn't vote for the speech from the throne. Everything they want is in this speech.
Andrew, and then Chantal. Andrew.
Well, just first of all, on Aaron O'Toole's comment about the country never being more divided, obviously that's a little bit over the top rhetorically, but he's taking stick in certain quarters for even mentioning this, that there are, in fact, deep divisions within the country that predate the pandemic that have not gone away. But there were some people saying, oh, how dare he talk about how we're not just all united in this fight. Well, we're united on some things, but not on some others. And in a throne speech that's as wide-ranging as this, it is remarkable that there was basically nothing intended to address any of those divisions and concerns and alienation in the West in particular.
And they were in the throne speech 9 months ago, those exact comments, actually.
So I don't think it's out of line for the opposition to oppose and to raise some of these concerns. I don't think he had as good a day as Jagmeet Singh did, because Jagmeet Singh is in a different position. He is in a situation where people are paying a lot of attention to the NDP right now, where they don't necessarily always do. And he's trying to maximize whatever leverage he's got to try and at least claim he got something for his vote, which eventually I think will be to vote with the government. But he's basically saying to the government, throw me a bone here.
Chantal, your thoughts on that?
I think he's not even saying throw me a bone. He's saying that bone that you already have, can you please put it out there? And I expect to see some of the things the NDP is asking today in legislation rather than throne speech language sooner rather than later, as in within the next few weeks. So I'm not getting my suitcase ready. Well, where would I go to cover an election?
I was gonna say.
Buy more masks. Probably is what I would be doing if I believed there was an election coming. That being said, and it's hard for someone who covered the referendum to buy the line that the country has never been as divided as Erin O'Toole maintains. It's really, the overstatement kills what would otherwise be a valid point. I think, though, that Jagmeet Singh had the better day, not because he has a bit of leverage, but because he was talking about real things that people worry about, sick leave, and what are they going to do when their SORB expires if their job situation is still up in the air. So up to a point, he won the day on the opposition benches by being real.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for being here throughout the day and into the night. Appreciate it. And I'll see you back here next Thursday. Bye-bye. Now, though, it's back to Adrian and Andrew in Toronto.
Very good talk. When we come back, frustration from America's top doctors on Capitol Hill.
You were not listening to what the director of the CDC said.
Next, they're warning about the pandemic in that country as cases close in on a staggering new threshold.
And later, the U.S. Supreme Court welcomes Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg one final time.
This is a visual representation of death and heartache. 20,000 flags on the Washington Mall, representing the more than 200,000 people killed by COVID-19 in the United States. And some experts say that number could double by year's end. The U.S. now closing in on 7 million confirmed cases. The president is painting a different picture, though, of a successful fight against the pandemic that is waning. Katie Simpson shows us how, once again, it's in sharp contrast to the message from the country's top health officials.
Each of these stands for 10 American lives lost to COVID. Memories honored, including 20-year-old football star Jermaine Stephen.
My son was so full of life and had so many plans, and to have that dream deterred by COVID is devastating.
As Americans mourn, the country's top doctors warn of more difficult times ahead.
A majority of our nation, more than 90% of the population, remains susceptible.
At a hearing on Capitol Hill, lawmakers were told physical distancing measures will only work if everyone participates. One doctor even lashed out at conspiracy theorists for undermining the severity of the illness and questioning scientists.
And it's offensive to me when I hear this type of comment.
But part of that problem starts here. The president at times is at odds with his own experts. And at a rally last night, Donald Trump mocked Joe Biden for wearing a mask.
I mean, honestly, what the hell did he spend all that money on the plastic surgery if he's going to cover it up with a mask? Seriously.
Shortages.
Coronavirus task force members denied today Trump's politics have an influence on their decisions.
In the end, FDA will not authorize or approve a vaccine that we would not feel comfortable giving to our families.
Though they again dismissed Trump's claim a vaccine will be widely available before the end of the year.
If you're talking about who's going to get vaccinated in December or November, it is not going to be a large proportion of the population.
COVID continues to spread rapidly here. Yesterday, there were nearly 40,000 new cases, and daily cases are on the rise in more than half of all states. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Next, a final homecoming at the U.S. Supreme Court. Hundreds gathered to greet the casket of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We will hear the tributes right after the break.
I'm Josh Block. Tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, we're walking through the highlights from the throne speech, from the vow to extend emergency COVID supports to a national childcare program. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Thousands gathered outside the U.S. Supreme Court today to pay their respects to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She died Friday at the age of 87. Susan Ormiston has the story.
In life, her nickname, the notorious RBG, continues with her in death. Ginsburg's last arrival at the U.S. Supreme Court, where she spent a third of her life. Her path flanked by over 120 former law clerks. Inside the Great Hall, her casket on a catafalque, a raised platform built for Abraham Lincoln back in 1865.
It has been said that Ruth wanted to be an opera virtuoso, but became a rock star instead. But she chose the law.
Chief Justice John Roberts paid respects to Ginsburg's first family in mourning and her second.
The court was her family too. Of course, she will live on in what she did to improve the law and the lives of all of us. And yet, still, Ruth is gone, and we grieve.
In repose now for 2 days outside the court, former President Bill Clinton, who appointed Ginsburg, with Hillary, joined the thousands who remember RBG for her landmark decisions on equal pay in education, who achieved a populist stature unlike almost any other justice.
You know, I've always had pictures of her in my room because she just reminds me of confidence, and if you don't think something is right, it's okay to dissent it.
For many, a private grief shared.
I think a lot of us need hope, and she gave us a lot of it.
I'm very sad about her passing, and I wanted to be here.
On Friday, famously, Ginsburg will become the first woman to lie in state inside the U.S. Capitol. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Washington.
Okay, time for a quick break. When we come back, you're going to meet the newest Canadian comic book hero. Her surreal moment ahead in tonight's Moment.
Ready for more families?
I am ready.
Let's go. We are gonna play.
More fun?
Don't play with me.
Well, he said good answer.
More feuding.
One of those lazy exes I've ever seen. Think it's up there, Mom?
No. Yeah, it's up there.
And more great answers.
Fill in the blank. I'd love to snap my fingers and become
Jerry D.
A new season of Family Feud, October 12th at 7:30 on CBC and CBC Gem.
In this DC comic book, alongside some famous names you'll probably recognize, is one you probably won't. The comic book is called The Wonderful Women of History. It features the late U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Serena Williams, Beyonce, and a pilot from British Columbia, Tira Fraser. She's Métis, is the owner of Escolieu Air, and the moment she found out she was going to be immortalized in comic form is our moment.
It feels a little bit strange. It feels a little bit not real. But it's also, I feel really honored to see my name on that list with all those unbelievable ass-kicking women. It was just, it was pretty wild. Wonder Woman was designed to be a symbol for the ideal love leader, bringing her strength and her humanity to liberate and rematriate our society. And, that's what Wonder Woman stands for. And it's what I stand for.
Well, she and others. So the illustrator of the series is Métis. The person who wrote Fraser's section of the comic is Cherokee. And they would have learned an awful lot about her airline that operates out of BC.
And she absolutely deserves to be there. She also is incredibly busy. Not only is she the chief pilot and the owner of that airline, but in her spare time, she's getting her PhD on warriorship, which is perfect. That is a national for September 23rd. Good night.
Good night.